anyway, let's move on to the last one. This is something that I wanted to just bring up just for a little while. I don't even know if anyone else is going to have any input on this, but my question was flashcarts, whether they're good or bad for the retro player. Now, for those that are not in the know, a flashcart is a device for a cartridge-based game system that usually has, say, an SD card slot in it. So you can put all the ROMs that you can download from, shall we say, less than legitimate websites on the internet, and be able to play them on original hardware, which for a lot of people is the preferred way of playing it. I mean, emulation is good, don't get me wrong, I love emulating stuff, but flashcards do enable you to get that original feeling, original controller, slipping that cart in and, you know, CRT TV, if you go that far, like I do. It's quite sad, but but yeah, it enables you to use the original thing. And I think if you're like me, I'm a retro player. I don't call myself a collector, because I think the collector's market has just gone stupid. And you know, there's games out there that are, you know, £1,000 in many cases, and I'm not going to pay that money. Yeah, it is. It's completely insane. I don't want to buy a game and have it sit in its packaging on a shelf. I want to get a game, slap it in my Super Nintendo, and play it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I think the flashcarts are good for retro players. I mean, you sort of separated retro players from, I guess, retro collectors, really.
Yeah.
Already. Because I was speaking to sort of a friend recently. They're very into collecting sort of NES and SNES games at the moment, mainly the Castlevania series. And I was asking them how much they'd spent on it recently, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, I bought a cartridge for around about £150." And I was like, "That's ridiculous." And he said, "Oh, I've got to have the complete set." And I was like, "Well, yeah, but I could emulate that on my PC for nothing." And it's not like he keeps them on shelf. He does play them, but I understand the collector side of it. But when it costs hundreds of pounds, I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. So I prefer what you're saying, flashcarts where you can play on original hardware. That would be my preferred method.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll play a devil's advocate. I'm putting on my devil's advocate hat here. But what about piracy? This is harumph. No, this is illegal.
Right. So my view on this, and I've given my views on this before, is that, so the reason I won't pay a lot of money for old retro games is because it's not helping the original developer in any way, shape or form anyway. It's coming from another collector, and I'm just going to be lining his pockets.
It's pure profit at that point, isn't it? So.
Indeed. No matter how I play it, whether I emulate it, download the ROM, or buy it for a ridiculous amount of money for a reseller, the original developer is still getting bugger all. Also, if there is no other legitimate way of buying those games, why the hell not? I mean,
how else are you going to play them?
Yeah, I mean, but my when it comes to old stuff, is that if there's no legitimate way of buying it, or the only way of actually buying it is through a third party that's not going to help the developer, I don't see any problem with it, because they're not getting anything out of it either way. As you know, I mean, you know, I've bought, even though I love emulation and I've got flashcards, I've bought a ton of games on Virtual Console, and I've bought, you know, I think I've got pretty much the entire collection of Mega Drive games on the Mega Drive Classics collection on Steam. Yeah, if it's available to me, I'll pay up. But if not, I'm going to emulate or flashcard it.
For the record, Big Boss Babble TM does not support piracy. If you're going to sue us, don't sue us.
Please.
No. Obviously, flashcards, I mean, even though they've been around for a long time, they came to prominence really around the DS era, where they practically became mainstream for the DS. I don't think I knew someone who didn't have a flashcard for their DS. They were so common, it was ridiculous. But over recent years, especially the ones that I've bought personally, so a guy called K. Kriz makes things called the EverDrives, and he's made EverDrives for practically every cartridge-based console out there, except some of the more obscure ones. I don't think there's a Jaguar one or a Virtual Boy one yet, or things like that. But his ones are absolutely fantastic. I've got one I've got a Game Boy one, a Game Boy Advance one, a Mega Drive one. The Mega Drive one's interesting as well, and it highlights a fascinating feature of the original Mega Drive. If you remember, for the Mega Drive, there was a thing called a power-based converter. Does anyone remember that?
No. I mean,
Sorry.
I'm looking
Basically-
at the Mega Drive right now, as you're saying.
The power-based converter could enable you to put Master System games and play them in the Mega Drive.
Oh, it's sort of like an adapter cartridge that goes in on
Yeah.
top of it, or was it?
But,
Yeah.
But the thing was, it was literally just a pin adapter. There was no real hardware in it at all. All the hardware to play Master System games is in the Mega Drive already. There was nothing in the power-based converter. It just literally lined up pins differently. So with the EverDrive for the Mega Drive, you can fill it up with Master System games, chuck that in, and play them all natively.
Oh, so that adapter, the one you're talking about that you bought,
Yeah,
so that has the sort of pinouts for both the cartridges in it as well. Then does it?
Well, no, because what I'm saying is obviously the Master System cartridges and the Genesis or Mega Drive cartridges had different pinouts.
Oh, yes.
But because they're now all coming off of one cartridge, it just loads the ROM data into the same pins.
Need to adapt it.
Yeah, there's no need to adapt it, so it just works. And I thought that was fantastic. And it also highlighted the fact that the Genesis Nomad couldn't do it, which I was upset about.
This conversation is too retro for me. I have to throw in some Call of Duties here, microtransactions, dabbing.
But George, you're one of the oldest ones of us here. I'm sure you are.
I know. I'm just
No dabbing.
dabbing.
Dabbing is not condoned.
Duck stabbing.
But anyway, to
I
say,
the duck stabbing.
ooh.
Oh no, it's starting.
Let's cull this before it goes too far.